Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery. Today, Gary and Patrick from the Ranking Factory actually asked me to come on to talk about some of the stuff that we do in the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. So here I am. But first, Gary, how are you?
I'm doing fine. It's a great day. I woke up with a pulse and I got excited.
That's a good thing. My dad always said, I woke up on the right side of the dirt, so today's a good day. So anyway, so guys, I apologize for the hiccups is getting started. Little bit of a snafu on scheduling today. So anyway, I'm here. I'm going to just kind of go through some stuff that we do at the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. Just full transparency, guys. I don't like pitch webinars. I don't like that salesy bullshit. I honestly don't. If all this did was help you to whatever, would it be worth it? Do you want me guys to go through them kind of slides and all that? I guess I can insert them at the end, but typically I don't like to go through all that stuff. I'm just going to show you guys what it is that we do in Semantic Mastery and the Mastermind, and kind of talk through a couple of ways to improve your agency, your local SEO business. That's primarily all we teach. I mean, we touch on some other subjects, but we teach mainly local SEO, lead generation, and how to build and run either a local SEO agency or a lead generation business around that stuff. I've got a lot of resources that I've developed over the years for my own business that I'm going to kind of walk through some of those to give you guys examples today that what's available inside our mastermind, and then answer some questions that you guys have about it. And that's it. There is an offer. The offer, it's not anything like beyond the ordinary. What I mean by that is, we have a monthly mastermind offer, which is $297 a month. And then we have a quarterly offer, which is $597. So basically buy 2 months, get one free. That's what the offer is. So I'm just going to go through this today. Like, again, guys, I just want to be fully transparent right up front and just let you guys know this is not some pitch webinar where I'm going to take you through some kind of like slides. And at the end, I'm going to hit you with 18,000 bonuses and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you what's in the mastermind, talk about it, tell you how it can help your business if you're in the position where you think that would help. And there's the offer, and that's basically it. So Gary, does that sound reasonable?
Not only does it sound reasonable, but at the end, we're going to make a special announcement from the ranking store that Patrick put together.
Okay, that sounds good. Right on. Well then, let's get into it. Guys, if you have any questions throughout this, go ahead and please post them and I will answer them as I go. Is this around Ranking Factory? I bought it a few weeks ago. Chris says back. I'm mainly here for Bradley's mastermind and any info on TrustFlow, local link building info he can share. Yeah. I mean, guys, that's what I'm trying to say is this web today. What this is about is for me to kind of introduce to you guys what the mastermind is about, what Semantic Mastery Mastermind is about. This is not about Ranking Factory in particular. I've got Backlink Factory and I'm starting to test with that this week, actually. So I don't really have anything to say about that yet, except that I know that it's going to be an integral part of my local lead gen stuff going forward. So, all right. But with that, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to grab the screen if it's all right with you, Gary.
Okay.
So guys, we're going to talk about a couple things. This is, I just went through this presentation at the SEO at the Beach event. So I'm going to kind of go through this today a little bit, guys, just to show you some, what, kind of the way that my training, what I do for my training and kind of my style. Okay. So I'm going to go through this because I do want to provide some value today, not just, show you guys what is available in the mastermind. I'm going to do that too, but I do want to provide you guys with some value. So I'm going to go through this and I'll give you guys access to this presentation. This is, again, I did this exact presentation and there's an SOP. I'm going to give you guys for today, whether you join the mastermind or not. I'm going to give you access to this SOP that I built right here. This is just a presentation, but I'm going to show you what the SOP looks like and I'll give you access to that. But this is just a taste. And I'm going to kind of review this and then show you some of the other types of SOPs and what's available inside the mastermind. Okay. In the training, because that's one of the things that I do a lot of, which is develops SOPs or standard operating procedures. I found that has really helped my business to grow. And that's what, I interview everybody that joins our mastermind, or interview. I say interview, it's an onboarding call. So I have a 30-minute onboarding call and it's just so I can get to know our members in the mastermind. Okay. I like to have that. It's a Zoom meeting. So it's a 30-minute conversation. And I generally like to ask our members, like, who are you? What do you do for your business? Where are you currently? What are your goals? What are you struggling with? That kind of stuff. And it's just so I can start to develop a relationship with our members. And also it's very insightful. Those 30-minute onboarding calls oftentimes reveals to me where people are struggling in their business, and it gives me ideas for training opportunities, right? Teaching opportunities. So that's something else I'm going to cover briefly, but one of the things that I hear often on these calls, there are certain things that people that are common for almost everybody that I talk with. Okay. And one of the biggest ones is repeatable processes and how to scale. Like those two are really connected. A lot of people come into our mastermind and they want that I interview that say that they can get results with SEO, but they're inconsistent. And a lot of that has to do because you don't have a standard operating procedure or repeatable process that you implement the same way every time. And if you just grab a handful of stuff and throw it at the wall, some of it's going to stick, some of it's not. But if you do that for every project, let's say you got 5 clients and you do a certain mix of things on one client and a certain mix of things on another and a certain mix of things on another. Even if you get some results for them, like how do you know what it was that you did that that produced results? Unless you're doing single variable testing, you really have no idea when you do a mix of things is what mix does what, like, you know what I mean? And so part of the thing that I try to stress that I really helped my agency to grow and my whole business to grow was developing repeatable processes, right? Figuring out what works first, then developing a process out of that and following that process every time. So it's repeatable. And not only that, but you can delegate it, right? If you have an SOP, you can remove yourself from the process because you can now delegate that to somebody else and they can execute it to the same degree that you could if you have developed really thorough standard operating procedures, right? So most of the members that I speak with say that, that's one of the things they struggle with is repeatable process, getting consistent results, being able to scale. So I ask, how are you with SOPs? Most people don't even know how to spell an SOP. Forgive me if I'm sounding a bit brash, but it's true. And I understand why. And having conversations with a lot of our members, most people don't want to put the time in. It's very time consuming. And by the way, it's not fun. Developing SOPs is not fun. I mean, if one of you guys are on here that thinks developing SOPs are fun, let's have a conversation. Are you looking for a job? Because I may want to hire you. I do a lot of SOP development and it's not fun. It sucks. It's very time consuming, but it's necessary. And it's very, very important. And it's been able to, my agency, my business has grown considerably when I started implementing SOPs. So all of that is to say, I develop SOPs for my own business all the time. And then the ones that I feel are the most important, I usually recreate them and then share them with our mastermind. So I have a whole series of SOPs. I'm going to show you guys what they are today so you can see them that I already have available. And something else that I've done more recently, and starting with this one, which you guys will get access to this one, it says local PBN on the screen. I'm going to give you guys access to this. But what I'm saying is I got smart when I was preparing the SOP for this. Originally, it was just going to be training, but then I had a need for this process to be delegated in my own business. So I went ahead and developed an SOP, which is what I always do. By the way, just so you guys know, whatever I do in SEO, I try to figure it out. I do a lot of testing and stuff like that. Once I figure something out and I prove that it works, meaning I'm able to repeat the results from that process or task or whatever multiple times to where I've proven that works, then I develop an SOP around that. And generally my SOPs for my team members are crude enough, like they're just done well enough to be able to show them how to execute the task that I had, done a few times and proved that it works. But they're generally not the most refined in that I don't need to be perfect at these processes in order to be able to produce an end result. Like, in other words, as long as I can execute the task, get it done, and it's going to produce a result, then I don't have to be the most efficient or the best at that thing, right? I just need to be able to figure out how to do it and then document how to do it, and then send that to a subordinate, right? An employee, a virtual assistant, whatever you want to call them. And then I give them that SOP and I say, look, do this, follow this SOP, the standard operating procedure, right? Follow the step-by-step process and don't deviate, at least until you have proven that you can complete that task, and, you know, to the standards that the SOP has provided to you. Then after they have learned how to execute that task, then I tell them, okay, now that you understand how to do this task, since it's going to be your job, then I want you to look for ways to improve this process, right? They're the ones that are going to be repeating it over and over and over again, not me. That's the whole reason why I developed the SOP. Well, even if you are going to be the one that has to execute, or let's just put this back on me. Even if I am going to be the one to execute that task over and over and over again, I still like to develop an SOP. That way I don't miss any steps, right? I think we all think in our heads that we understand what needs to be done, so we're just going to always do that. But I guarantee you, you're missing steps if you don't have at least a high-level checklist that you check off each task, right? Or each item that you have to complete. So I'm just saying that because I know myself, if I do not create an SOP for stuff, even that only I do, then I have a tendency to overlook things or take shortcuts or just miss things, maybe not intentionally, but unintentionally, right? And so that's why I'm saying SOPs are so important, because they're good for helping you to always, like, quality control. Think about this. If you do something well and you document all the steps that you did in order to execute that task and complete, you know, produce whatever it is that you're producing, and it's done well, and you document that, then you know that you're going to be able to achieve that similar result every time, right? But if you don't, and you miss a step here and there, even if, you know, unintentionally, then you aren't going to be able to achieve the same result, right? It's likely going to affect the result. And so the point is, you know, having that kind of checklist will help you to be accountable and help you not to miss any steps. And so I do that for myself. But when it comes to my VAs or my subordinates, when I give them an SOP and say, okay, learn this task, but don't deviate to begin with. Once they feel comfortable with the SOP, you know, executing the process that I hand to them, then I tell them, now it's on you. Since you're going to be the one that's going to be doing this over and over and over again, I want you to look for ways to make this more efficient, to improve this process. Look for apps, software, tools, whatever, anything that you can do that you can find to make you more efficient, make your job easier. Then you bring that to me. And if I approve that, then we'll work that into the SOP. In other words, we'll go in and we'll edit the SOP to add in the new data or the new apps or whatever it is that they have determined, so that they become more efficient. Okay. And that's why I'm saying, like, that SOPs, there's a great book called by Sam Carpenter called Work the System. And I'll just go pull this up. It's called Work the System. I think it's Sam Carpenter. Yeah. Great book. You guys should go check this out. Even if whether you join our mastermind or not, this is a fantastic book. I bought this book on Amazon Kindle on the way to the Network Empire certification event in 2014, which was in Scottsdale, Arizona, a $20,000 SEO event for 3 days. And I bought this $9 Kindle book on the way, and read half of it on the way there on the flight from Virginia to Scottsdale or Phoenix or wherever the hell it was that we flew in. And then I read the other half of the book. So $9 Kindle book. And I read the other half of the book on the way back. And I don't know why this son of a bitch won't. There it goes. Now it's finally loaded. Look at that, $47 for a hardcover. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because the Network Empire certification event was good. I learned a lot about SEO, but I can tell you that this $9 book had a bigger effect on my business than the $20,000 SEO event. And that's not a joke, because this helped me to learn how to start delegating and removing myself from the process of you know, everything that I did in SEO. At the time in 2014, I was doing well with SEO, but I did 100% of absolutely everything. I'd never outsourced anything at that point. So I literally had no time left. So like I said, I bought this book for $9, and it really opened up my eyes on how to learn how to delegate work and everything else. And so the reason I brought that up is because he calls SOPs working procedures, and they're living, breathing documents, right? Or in other words, they're constantly, they're never done. SOPs are never done. They have to be updated and edited, and as things change, they need to be changed, and as things can be improved upon, it's good to go back in and edit them, right? So that's just, like I said, I typically come up with an SOP, and now I'm going to, you know, get into showing you guys some examples of these in just a moment. but I generally come up with the SOPs. I learn a process just enough to be able to execute it in a repeatable way. Then I document everything via screencast and text-based instructions, which I'll show you in a minute. Excuse me, I just dribbled. And then I send that over to my VA and say, just follow this. And once you're comfortable doing this, then let me know. And then you keep an eye out for ways to make this more efficient, right? Combine steps, eliminate steps, buy software or tools or whatever, and I'll pay for that. And we can get into organizational structure a little bit. I talked about this a little bit at the SEO at the beach event last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, I should say. But something else, again, maybe later on, if we have time, we can talk about this, but I pay my team members on a per task basis. I only have literally, out of just my link building business alone, I got 16 full-time employees, and only one of them is paid hourly. The rest of them are all on a per task basis. And so something else that I recommend, again, when you have everything documented and you delegate work, paying on a per task basis gives all of your employees or your subordinates incentive to become more efficient and more productive. Think about hourly, guys. What incentive do any of your hourly employees have to become more productive or more efficient? They really don't, because they're getting paid by the hour, right? I mean, maybe some of you have some creative ways of doing that, and that's great. That's fine. I'm not here to knock anybody that pays people by the hour. That's fine. But what I'm trying to say is, if you pay people by the task and you give them an SOP to teach them that task, and then you tell them, hey, so they can write their own paycheck depending upon how efficient they are at their job, right? So when you give somebody like what I do, I give my team an SOP, and they know right up front that they're going to be paid per task completed, not by the hour. So it's in their best interest to try to make that process as efficient as possible. You understand? So that's why I tell them, look, here's the SOP, follow this, don't deviate. Once you learn it, then look for ways to make this better, because the more efficient they become, the more money they make, the more output I get from them. So it's in my best interest to, and I'll pay for the tools or the apps or the subscriptions or whatever it takes to help them to be more productive. And then, so not only do I pay for that, but they look for ways to become more efficient, because that means that they're increasing the amount of money that they can make in the same amount of time, if that makes sense. So, again, that's why, like I said, I have my entire team is paid almost like a network marketing model. Like, I have project managers, then there's team leaders, and then there's workers. Okay. And for everything that my workers do, the team leader gets a cut of. For everything that the team leader and all the workers do, the project managers get a cut of. And everybody knows that they get paid, except for, like I said, I got one employee that's a report generator. They're the ones that she generates reports, and she's paid hourly. Everybody else is paid on a per task basis. And again, I love it that way, because number one, everybody else can make a lot more money. Everybody makes a hell of a lot more money. They can make like many times more than they can hourly by working the way that I pay them. And number two, they all have incentive to become more productive and more efficient at all times, if that makes sense. So anyway, all of that is to say, guys, I've learned over the years, that we are our own biggest bottlenecks as entrepreneurs, because we oftentimes feel like we cannot delegate any of this work. And, nobody can do it as good as we can. And that may be true, but you have to release control. Trent Deersmith from Flowster, which is the SOP app. I'm going to stop talking here in a minute, guys, and get into this with you. But I'm going to show you guys, Trent talks about, look, you can have control in your business or growth, but you can't have both, right? It's like one or the other. You can either have control or growth, but you can't have both, because if you want to do everything in your business, you're not going to be able to grow. So you have to relinquish some control in order to accelerate growth, if that makes sense. So, there are certain things that I like. The one thing I still haven't outsourced yet, but I got somebody in training for it right now, is sales. I still do 100% of my own sales calls, and I do a lot of them. And that's one thing I have not outsourced yet, but I got somebody in training right now to take over that. And I understand that my conversion rate is going to go down considerably when my new sales guy takes over doing sales calls, at least initially. And I get it. And that's okay. I'm willing to eat a loss so that I can get my time back. Right. And that's what I'm hoping to encourage you guys with today, is that you guys can see how, you know, I know a lot of you in the SEO industry, because I'm one of them guys, you know, we're looking for the newest SEO hack or the newest app or tool or software or chat GPT prompt or whatever that's going to give us an edge in SEO. And that's great. That makes sense. All of us need to be good at SEO, and we're always looking for an edge. But what about your business? How is the health of your actual business, your profitability? How much time do you have to yourself? Right? Like all of these things that are kind of higher level things. It's not the SEO tactics that we all like to get lost in those weeds with. I do too. I get it, guys. I always want to see the new SEO tool or app and see like, hey, is that something relevant? And I have the fear of missing out, FOMO, right? So I buy all the shiny objects too, but this is one of those things that's it's necessary, right? This is about the health of your business. And are you self-employed or are you a business owner? If you can't remove yourself from your business, you're self-employed. You're not a business owner. And I'm in both camps really, because I have some businesses that I don't have to be a part of and they run themselves. And in other businesses where I'm still an integral part and it won't run without me, if that makes sense. So I'm not there yet, but I'm working towards that, if that makes sense. So I'm not trying to tell anybody here like I'm above all that shit, because I'm not. I'm still, like I just mentioned, I'm still doing all the sales calls for all of my businesses. I don't have a salesperson at all, period. But I'm working myself out of that right now, if that makes sense. So anyway, do you guys have anything to add to that, or should I just get right into kind of showing some examples? I'm going to take silence as a no. Okay, guys. So oops, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. No, I don't have anything else to add to that. That was great.
Okay. Very good. Right on. Okay, guys. So I'm going to do a couple things. Number one, let me stop sharing just for a minute. So I'm going to grab a short link to send you guys in chat so you guys can go get access to this right away. And then I'll walk through it. So I just want to make sure you guys have access before I walk through it. Okay. So I'm going to put this in chat, guys. And then if you guys want the Flowster template too, let me know. Flowster, it's his SOP. You're going to have you can go on a free trial, but I think it's a 14-day free trial, and then it's $28 a month after that. But I'll give you guys the Flowster SOP too if you want it. Just have to let me know. But here we go. I'm going to put this in chat, guys. This is the, oops, let's try that again. Okay, so you guys should see that in chat. This will be available in the replay too, but I'm going to show you an example of what this looks like there. That is the, that should be the link. Let me just double check it. It should be the link to go into our circle. Yeah, okay, that should be it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this, and then I'll come back to the local PBN thing in a minute, the presentation, and I'm going to walk through that and kind of give you guys some examples of what you can do. But here is the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. We are in the process of moving all of our archives and our community, which is currently in Facebook and everything, into the Circle platform. Really like this platform. It's new, or it's new to us anyways. And so I just want to show you guys what the mastermind looks like inside Circle. Why I like this a lot better than our current, the setup that we've had for like the last 8 years or whatever it is because there's a lot more organizational structure in here, where we can have different discussions and training separated by category and things like that. So, you know, there's the discussion groups and you know, different kind of categories, topic categories that we can have conversations about. It's just a lot more organized. The way that our mastermind has been for the last many years is we have our archives area, which is where we keep all of the webinar replays and things like that. And then we had the Facebook group, which is the community. So those are the two components of the mastermind, right? The Facebook community and the archives area. Well, this combines both of them under the Circle dashboard. And so we're going to be eventually grandfathering the Facebook community or group, or we'll probably leave it open, but we just it won't be very active, if that makes sense. It's still kind of dual tracking. We're kind of doing both right now while we're still getting used to Circle and moving everything over. So just want to give you guys a heads up. The link that I just sent you will give you access to the local PBN building training. That's this here. And if let me just go up and show you the course. This is the course here. All right. And I'm going to go through this in slides just to kind of give you guys an example of what the concept is. We'll run through it quickly because I don't need to go through a full presentation on that. I'm not here to pitch you on this. I'm giving you free training and SOP training for this. Okay. So I just want to kind of go through so that you guys see what my process is and you get kind of a feel for what this training is and then the SOPs. I'm going to show you this local PBN or local blog building SOP in 2 formats. Okay. So local PBN building, local blog building, whatever you want to call it. Generally, I do everything first in Flowster, which is a standard operating procedure app, a process app. Okay. I use Flowster for all of my businesses, for all of my SOPs. So I use the shit out of it and I like it a lot. We've had a lot of whining in our mastermind about, you know, some people complaining that they had to pay $28 a month to get Flowster. That wasn't initially when I started using Flowster. There was a free account level. Just within like the last 5 or 6 months, for whatever reason, they did away with their free account level. So now you have to pay $28 a month, I think, to have an account in Flowster. So I can understand that some people complain and say, well, I'm paying for Mastermind. I don't want to have to pay for SOP training. You know, to be, or they don't want to pay for an SOP app. I've said this before, and guys, you know, please understand that I sometimes I try to be harsh with our members specifically as like, you know, hey, get your priorities straight. Let me be clear about this, because when I say, and I say it intentionally, when I say there's a lot of whining in our mastermind about $28 a month for Flowster, I say that intentionally to be a bit abrasive. And that's because the SOPs that I'm going to share with you guys here or show you guys, when you see how detailed they are and how absolutely critically valuable this is for your business, my question is to people that want to complain about, and I'm not pointing anybody out, guys. This is just a general thing. If you're complaining about $28 a month to pay for a process app that is going to help your business, to help remove yourself from your business and allow you to scale and have repeatable processes, quality is consistent and all of that kind of stuff, and you're complaining about $28 a month, your priorities are out of line. Because how many shiny objects are you paying $28 or more a month for that you're not using? Or do you understand what I'm saying? Like, think about what you're spending your money on. And is it the next shiny object JV Zoo launch that's going to take your business to the next level? Or is it the SOPs so that you can remove yourself from the day-to-day operations and scale your business? What is the bigger priority here? Right. And I've got this written down on my whiteboard next to me, where I say sometimes saving a few dollars just costs too much, you know, or stop walking over the dollars to get to the dimes. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I can share with you guys the Flowster template if you want it. I'm going to show you what that looks like in there too, because that's how I do all of my own internal processes, is via Flowster. And as I started to say earlier, and then I went off topic, what I had been doing for the last couple of years was going in, and I'll just show you Flowster now. Let's go in here and I'll just show you the one that I'm just showing on here now. We're going to go into the local blog. You know what? That's in probably semantic links. Stand by. Right here. That's this SOP. So this is what I call an SOP, and this is what it looks like in Flowster. Okay, guys, if you guys want this, yeah, Gary says, how many of you bought and never even unzipped? You're talking about, you know, products that you buy off JVZoo and everything. And I know I do it. I buy stuff all the time thinking, oh yeah, I'll use that, and then never even open it. Anyway, so here's an example of an SOP. This is what's called a workflow. So there's in Flowster, the way that I do things, the way that it works is you have a template. So you build the SOP in a template. Then you run a workflow from the template. And that way you can assign a workflow to a subordinate, a virtual assistant, an employee, whatever you want. You can assign a workflow. So let me just give you an example here, guys. This is the local blog building. I'm going to go in here to edit the template. This is what it looks like in template format, right? So there's different modules, and then there's these different, you know, blocks that I can add, content blocks with embeds or text or file or image or file upload, like all kinds of different stuff. But then when I want to run a workflow from a template, so imagine that I've got a new VA that I'm going to task with local blog building or local PBN building following this process. Okay. Then I'm going to click on new workflow and I'm going to assign it to the VA that I've invited to my organization, right? You can have guests or you can have members, depending on what subscription level you have. Guests are fine. So I can just go in here and select one of these as a guest. So I'm just going to just select myself and I'm going to just call this demo. And what I usually do is I usually put the worker's name in parentheses next to whatever it is. And generally, like in this case, let's say that I needed local blogs for Austin, Texas. So I'm going to say Austin, Texas, local PBNs, something like that. And then I'm going to put the name. So I'm just going to say Joe. Let's just say Joe. Okay. That's what I'll do. Then I'll say create a workflow. In the workflow view, it looks like this, which is so much cleaner. It's not clunky like it looks like when you're building the template. So the workers, they get it in this format. Okay. And it's very, very clean. And I'll show you as we go through this in a minute, why this is very powerful. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that I build SOPs. And this will make, again, this is relevant to you guys because if any of the SOPs that I make available to the mastermind, you have access to them in Flowster if you want them. Or if $28 is too much to improve your business, $28 per month, then we can give it to you in training format. Okay. But then you have to have your VAs log into your training portal and have them log in with your details and go through and all of that. Whereas with Flowster, you can assign a workflow to them. And then the nice thing about that, guys, is if you go back at a later time, I just click to go edit template. Let's say we figure out that something has changed, or we figure out a way to improve something, or we want to add another module, whatever, anything that I want to do to this SOP to change it, I can make a change. And then all I have to do, like, so for example, let's just say, I'm just going to put demo here. You see how up here, there's this little yellow wheel. It says update active workflows. That means all of the workflows that I've run off of this template. So all of my workers that have a assigned workflow from this particular SOP, if I just click that little round wheel or that little yellow arrow, whatever, it's going to automatically update all of those workflows with the new data or the edits that I have made. Does that make sense? Now, to be clear, if I share with you guys the template URL so that you can import the template into your Flowster account, then it's at whatever current state it is that you imported that template URL, that's how it's going to remain. In other words, if I send you guys the template URL and then I go in and edit the template, that's not going to update your template. You have to download or import the new template URLs, but it will update all of the workflows that are run from that existing template. Hopefully that makes sense. The difference between workflows and templates. If I give you a template and share my template with you, you can import it into your account. But if I then edit that template and click to update the workflows of anybody running that has run workflows from my template in my account, that'll update all of theirs, but it won't update yours. Hopefully that makes sense. I just want to be clear about that. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to go back to here. I'm just going to click update now anyways, as soon as it's done, even though I really didn't do anything. All right. So this brings me back into the, correct, Chris. And what's up, buddy? How are you, man? Anyway, so going through here, I'm just going to show you guys what this looks like. So this is just the overview. I'm going to show you two different examples of how I build SOPs. This is kind of the more efficient way to build them, which is where I always do this, guys. I always do text-based, kind of like I introduce what the module is about, and then I do video and text-based step-by-step instructions. So for example, for crawl targets right here, you'll see this is what I'm talking about, like little, the video's embedded right here, or sometimes it's hosted. It only allows 100 megabytes upload. So sometimes if the file's too big, then I have to host the video elsewhere and then just paste in the YouTube video URL, Screencast-O-Matic or something like that. So that's why you'll see different video players. Sometimes the file was too big. Anyway, but you can see what I do, guys, is very, very granular, right? I always link out to supporting assets or resources or anything else. So somebody can just click right here and it takes them directly. So again, this is what I'm trying to share with you guys here is like, here's an example of one of those videos that had a larger than 100 megabyte file size. So I had to host it elsewhere. Anyway, but you guys can see what I do is I go through, and I mean, it's literally step by step. Okay. everything that I show in the video is basically transcribed into step-by-step processes down here, right? And the same thing here, that like, so just so you know, like these steps here are relevant to this video here. These steps here are relevant to this video here. And you can see load in the PBN lab, load in the PBN lab. That way you can always tell which video is with which section. I do that. I repeat the same kind of formatting every time. So local domains, again, local domains, right? Here's the step-by-step instructions. There's the video. And then there's some supporting videos that go through that, right? So again, we'll go into like site optimization. Take a look at how thorough these are, right, guys? This is, again, step-by-step instructions. Like somebody can watch the video and execute these, or the videos can be completely omitted from here and people should still be able to execute these tasks because it's such detailed written instructions. Click edit site, click enhance all posts with OpenAI, click enhance website, click OK, wait for the page to refresh, click OK. You guys understand this is how you can take whatever process it is that you do in your business. I'm just teaching you guys how to build SOPs, right? You come join the mastermind, I'm going to give you the SOPs that are available in the mastermind. So you don't have to do a lot of this. No sense in reinventing the wheel. What I recommend to our members is that when I give you guys SOPs, that you go and then go in and edit the templates to include, if you're going to use Flowster. If not, then it's just training. But you can go in and edit your templates to include stuff that's proprietary for your agency or your business, right? So you can take mine as kind of a starting point, like a foundation, my SOPs, and then build, add to them, if that makes sense, so that you don't have to recreate the wheel. Hopefully that makes sense. So what I'm trying to say here, guys, is it's very, very thorough. I mean, you can see, like, I go to great lengths and I do all these myself. I don't outsource this shit. I've tried to outsource this in the past, like, because I do really detailed training videos and I narrate everything that I do as I'm doing it. And I don't just, by the way, just so you guys know, many of you have probably never seen any of my SOPs, but in these training videos, guys, I don't just say, do this, 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 and this. I explain what it is that we're doing, not just what to do, but why we do it. And I do that for various reasons. As I talked about earlier, guys, when we first started this webinar, I mentioned that, I treat my employees very well. I pay them incredibly well. Well, they pay themselves incredibly well because they're paid on a per task basis and they all execute. They're all very, very proficient or very efficient. And it's because they know that they can make more money that way, right? So what I'm saying is, I go through these SOPs and I'm very granular, and I, put a lot of time into them so that they can be executed by my VAs without really any hand holding, right? You certainly can. You can add additional support if needed, but what I was saying was, I've tried to outsource this in the past and say, like, okay, look, if I give you this video, which I go into great detail as to exactly what needs to be done, and I've tried to show, virtual assistants in the past that I've said, look, I need you to turn this video into a step-by-step process. It never comes back the way that I want it. So this is one of those things where I say about delegating work, but there's some things that people can't do as good as you. This is one of those things where I have a real hard time letting go of this because I want my SOPs to be detailed the way that I do them, right? And it's very difficult to get that kind of an output from, at least to the same degree that I do it. Eventually, I will have somebody trained that will do that for me. But getting back to what I was saying about, not only do I teach what to do, but I also teach why, because as I mentioned before, I want my VAs to feel like they're, or my employees, contract workers, whatever, I want them to feel like they're a part of the team. And so instead of just always telling people like, do this, 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 and this, I want them to understand why they're doing it. It makes them better team members. It feels like they feel like they're a contributor to the business, not just somebody that's executing tasks, right? And by teaching them the why instead of just the how. So the why in addition to the how, they can also become better at their job, meaning they can find additional ways to improve, right? So that's why, like I said, I don't just, and it's funny, but I talked about this on our mastermind webinar last week. Oftentimes I hear people say, well, I don't want to give all my SOPs to any one worker because they're going to go out and become my competitor. No, they're not. I mean, people are either employees or entrepreneurs. It's very rarely that they're both. And most people just want to get a paycheck, be told what to do and go home. Like, be told what to do, collect a paycheck and go home. Entrepreneurs, we work all the time. But employees don't. Employees work when they're at work. And so most people, if you give them an SOP, like, they're not going to go out and become your competitors because they don't have the courage to do it, or you know what I mean? So anyway, I think there's a difference between the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset. I'm of the abundance mindset. I think we should teach like all of our employees as much as we can. I'm not worried about anybody else coming out to be my competitor. I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm just not worried about it. If they want to go out and try to be a competitor, fine, but I've got a leg up on them for many years in this business. I've got all these processes developed, everything else. They might learn it, but they're starting from scratch. Does that make sense? So I'm not really concerned about that. So anyway, all right, guys. So you guys see the point of what I'm trying to make here. This is the SOP format. Okay. You can see very, very thorough. I go through, and I started to say this now twice, and both times I've got off topic. For the longest time, whenever I would develop an SOP internally, if it was one that I wanted to share with the Semantic Mastery group, then I would have to recreate because I always start by developing SOPs internally, which means generally in my internal SOPs, I have at the very top of every module, I have the login details for any of the apps or services that are going to be used in this particular module. I oftentimes will build the SOP around a client project because I'm working in the client project, and I use that as the opportunity to develop the SOP. So that's why whenever I go to share an SOP with the Semantic Mastery Mastermind members, I have to recreate it, or I have had to up until just this one here. And that's because, like I said, I always created them internally first with sensitive information. And then I would recreate them more kind of whitewashed, right? Made more generic so that so that I could share it with the group. As you can imagine, developing SOPs is very, very time consuming. And that's why most of you don't do it, right? Sorry if I'm being a little bit too honest with you, but honestly, most of you probably don't do SOPs because they suck. It's tedious, it's boring, it sucks, but it's so freaking valuable, right? And so that's why whenever I would share an SOP with our mastermind members, I always tell people, like, guys, please be patient, because first I got to develop it in-house. And then after I do that, I got to do it a whole second time. I got to go through and redo everything twice just to be able to share it with you. Well, fortunately, as I was preparing for the SEO at the Beach event, I got smart and I said, okay, I'm going to develop this SOP right here for building local PBNs. I'm going to go ahead and do this as an internal SOP. I'm going to speak directly to my VA. I've got my VA named Harvey that does this for me. And I knew as I was building this SOP that he was going to be the one assigned to do this. So I'm speaking to my VA, Harvey, in these training videos. The difference is I left out all the sensitive information and I sent that to him externally in another document. So therefore, I only had to create this SOP one time instead of doing it twice so that I could share it. So going forward, just so you guys know, because we are here to talk about potentially joining the mastermind. Going forward, as I develop SOPs for my own internal processes, I'm going to try to make them as generic, keep my sensitive proprietary information out that, I can't share. And so that I only have to develop the SOP once for my own team, but then I can share it with you guys. Just understand that I'm going to be talking to my team in the videos, but it's something that you can implement yourself. So in other words, it's going to prevent me from having to do everything twice. If that makes sense. Okay. All right. So moving on, guys, I just want to show this to you. If you want the Flowster template, I'll share with you the link right now. Here it is. Yeah, Mike, I'm going to show some of those in a minute. Mike's asking, am I going to show my other SOPs? Yes, this is the Flowster template. Flowster local PBN building template. Okay, there you guys go. All right, so there you have it in SOP format. And this is just written checklist or step-by-step, you'll see in a minute. I'm going to go show you guys some other, I'm going to show you some of the other SOPs that I have that you guys have access to or that can have access to in the mastermind. And you'll see that sometimes I do these in or checklist items where they have to check them off. I'll kind of demonstrate that here in a minute. Okay. Okay, Rod, thank you. I had a short link too. So perfect. Thank you. All right, guys. So I'm just going to show that to you, the difference. Okay. So this is the SOP in Flowster. Let me go back to the workflow. Sorry. Okay. So this is what it looks like in Flowster. Here it is in training format. Okay. So if we go into the process overview, you'll see, remember, you're not able to assign this to a VA this way. You'd have to give a VA or whoever you want to train login details to your mastermind account, which is why I recommend if you're going to be assigning this type of stuff to VAs, you just pay the $28 a month, cancel one of your other stupid freaking services that you're not really using, and spend $28 a month on Flowster. Trust me, it's a better investment than whatever that app is that you're paying for that you're not using. Okay. And I say that because I got a ton of those types of apps myself that I don't use, that I pay for. Okay. But again, just to show you, this is what it looks like here. Right. And so like if we go into, I don't know, site optimization or something like that, you'll see where it's a lot more thorough, but it's still just written steps in the video right there. Okay. So very similar. The difference is this, I feel like, is a little bit better of a format. Not only that, guys, but you can have your VAs, whoever's executing this task, whoever you assign the workflow to, you can have them comment right in here, and you can set up notifications to where, like, in other words, if they were in the process of trying to hunt down local domains, for example, and they ran into an issue, they could, potentially, my team just uses Slack. They'll just comment in Slack, like, hey, I got a problem. Can you help me out? And I'll help them out. But you can also set up automations to where when they comment in, it sends you a notification. So you can jump right in and say, okay, they're stuck on this module. And then you can provide guidance or assistance. Okay. So guys, that's the local PBN kind of SOP and the training. Again, I don't even think that I'm really going to go. If you guys want, I can go through this quickly, but there's really no need to. You have the training now available right here. So you guys can go through this on your own. I don't think there's really a need for you to go through the this. If enough of you want it, then I'll go through that too. But let me go through and show you some of the other SOPs first that are available currently. So we'll go into, here's some of the big ones. Now, some of these are going to be updated as we're converting these SOPs into training in this format here. So like, for example, you'll see SOPs over here. We don't have them yet, guys, because we're moving all of our archived content first. As soon as we're done with that, then the SOPs that I'm about to show you in Flowster are going to be moved into here as training, training, they're SOPs in training format, if that makes sense. Okay. So they're all going to be coming into here as well. But in the and so when we do that, when we start transferring these SOPs into Circle, there's going to be some updates added. Okay. Some new things have changed, some things have evolved. And so I'm going to be going in and updating them at that time. Okay. So number one, this is the Google Business Profile Optimization process. It's release 1.2. As I change the releases, like in other words, as I edit them or update them, I change the release number. So you can see that this is the Google Business Profile Optimization process. I don't know why it's still trying to load. YouTube's being slow. But the difference that I wanted to show you guys was between what I showed you previously with the local PBN SOP, which is really like an ordered list, but it wasn't a checklist items. This one was developed specifically with these checkboxes instead. Okay, so the written instructions in this formatted SOP are checkboxes. And the reason why is because they can't complete the task until all the checkboxes have been checked within this particular module. So you can see how there's a few of them that haven't been checked. You see how it says all items must be checked. So why I like this format is for the more kind of elaborate type of SOPs or processes. Why I like this is because you can have a VA, you can assign a VA. Remember, you can run a workflow off this. So let me back up for a minute. Let me click on edit. I'm going to click on run a new workflow. and I'm going to say, okay, this workflow is this is the Google Business Profile Optimization SOP. I want to assign this to the new location that we just got as a new client. Okay. My agency deals with tree service contractors. So let's say it's Clean Cut Tree Service. Okay. That's the name of the business that I'm going to, the Google Business Profile that I want my VA, one of my team members, to optimize. And so I'm going to assign them this workflow to the name of the workflow is the Google Business Profile that they're going to be optimizing. And then I'm going to assign it to my VA. And like I said, I usually just put their name in quotes, excuse me. So let's just say, I'm just going to say Bradley. Okay. If I could spell my own name. And I'm going to say create a new workflow. Okay. So now we'll see that now we know that this workflow is assigned to that location and is assigned to this worker. Does that make sense? And now what you'll see, these are all fresh. Nothing's been checked anywhere. So now the worker, in this case, some guy named Bradley, can come in here and click these boxes as they're executing these items, completing these tasks. And once they've gone, let's say that they get down here and they say there's an issue with this particular item. They can stop and they can scroll down to the bottom and they can say, hey, Bradley, I ran into a snag. You'll see where I stopped. And they don't even need to say that, but can you assist? And I can get notification of that. And I can jump into this module and I can see exactly where they stopped. Okay, they're having trouble with the service areas. Let me provide them with a list of the service areas. Does that make sense? So guys, it's very, very easy for me to be able to see exactly where they've left off. And there's no way that they can complete this task until all items have been checked. You understand? Same thing over here. I can't check that box, or they can't check the box to say this is done until all of these checkboxes have been checked, right? So if I wanted to, then I'd say, okay, we're going to go through and finish X. Yeah, exactly. No shortcuts. So that's why I said, like, even yourselves, guys, I guarantee you that you think you know everything up here, but even repeatable tasks that you do often, I guarantee you you're missing steps at times. And it's probably not intentional, but we're all human, right? Or you're in the middle of doing something and you get an email or a phone rings or somebody knocks at your door or whatever, you spill coffee on your lap or whatever. And next thing you know, you come back and you missed a step or two and it wasn't intentional. But if you have the SOPs like this, where it's literally step by step, but before they can check off the items, there's no way anything can be missed. Full stop. You understand? So again, just going through here and taking a look at this, right? I've got very, very detailed training in here about this. And anytime there's a link to something that supporting assets or resources or software or online apps or anything else that are helpful or useful, they're linked to. So you just click on it and it takes them right over, right? And so again, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is all of these are very, very step by step. I mean, there's nothing left here for question or for deviation. That's why I said I typically like to produce SOPs like this and then run my VAs through them and say, okay, go through it, do it 2 or 3 times, don't deviate at all. Once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you feel comfortable doing it, then I want you to look for ways to improve this process and then bring that to me when you find something, whether it's eliminating steps, combining steps, whatever, or finding additional software or apps or anything, bring it to me. And if it makes sense and it works, then we'll go ahead and add it into the process. Okay. So again, guys, this is the Google Business SOP, release 1.2. Release 1.3 will be coming out when we transfer this over into Circle. Our goal is to have all that done by the end of February, or excuse me, March, by the end of this month in March. But again, like I said, like just look at the ID page alone. Here's all the steps for creating a Amazon S3 bucket, provisioning the bucket for HTML, static HTML hosting, how to upload the files. All of this stuff is, again, step by step, right? So that's that one. Let's go take a look at some other ones. Rank and Rent Mastery. This is what I did for POFU Live, which is our live event, 2022. I talked about Rank and Rent Mastery. It's kind of what I'm doing in the mornings on my Twitch channel. Some of you may know what I'm talking about, but every morning I've been working on the rank and rent business. That's in part because of this. So we take a look at this. This is a very massive, very thorough SOP. Look at it. This is about a lot of what I'm doing in the mornings on Twitch, but just in a much more kind of thorough format. So there's that one. We'll take a look at the local geo site. This is about how to build a particular site with a very specific structure that I'm using that works incredibly well. I'm doing a lot of this stuff on the Twitch channels in the morning too, but this is a particular site structure. I even got a clone file in here for you guys to be able to like take a WordPress theme that I had customized with Elementor and a custom plugin that my developer created. It's a short code plugin, all of that. And I've got a clone file that you can import. And I've got instructions in here on how to import that clone file so that you can use that site template that I created. So all of that is here. You guys can see, again, step-by-step instructions, very, very thorough, guys. All right, I'll just show you a couple more. And then I'll answer questions, guys, and we'll wrap it up. Gary and them can add whatever bonuses they want. All right, so we talk about content mirroring. This is something that there's two versions of this. There's the original version, which was done a little over 2 years ago. For projects that have Google business profiles. This is the one that I've done more recently for no Google business profile is required, but this is called the content mirroring method. You can add a Google business profile to this structure if you want. If so, it parallels right here with the YouTube videos. So at this level here. But again, this is kind of the instructions on how to do all this, how to set up the YouTube channel, how to create the content videos. I use a service called wave.video for that, how to create a YouTube silo, how to mirror the pages or create the mirror structure in Blogger, how to do a cloud pages, and then how to do it with the G site. That's like the final kind of structure in the like Russian dolls or whatever you call them. That's this right here, the G site. So again, that's the content mirroring method. Got a couple more we'll go through. This is the original content mirroring. So this one's slightly different. I don't know if I have the diagram in here or not. Yeah, I do. Well, right here is the diagram. This one's slightly different. Like I said, this is with Google Business Profile. The other one is optional. The other one is kind of the one I'm using more recently is the newer method. But again, this is kind of an older version of it that can be used. Again, very, very powerful. I go through all the different tools and apps that we use for that. All right. So those are the Semantic Mastery SOPs. We'll go into a couple others, guys. For those of you that have been following Semantic Mastery for any amount of time, you know that one of the ways that I use to grow my own local SEO agency, which deals with tree service contractors, is by I built a directory site called Tree Care HQ. I use that now. I don't do any outbound prospecting for tree service contractors anymore. I get inbound leads from my directory. Every single week, I get inbound leads from tree contractors that have found my directory site and submit their own listings. And when they do that, they automatically go into my sales pipeline. And I have an entire business built around the directory prospecting method. It took me 2 freaking years to develop this, guys. And it took me 6 months to develop these SOPs. This is the sequence of SOPs for the directory method. There's 8 of them. Well, one of them is just a checklist. So there's 7 SOPs. Well, actually, no, there is 8. Sorry, 8 SOPs plus a checklist. So this is very, very, very thorough. It took me 2 years to develop this process, and it took me 6 months to put it in an SOP format. So there's 2.5 years of effort into these right here, guys. And you guys get all of these as part of our mastermind. Okay. This is an entire business right here. Any of you that are doing SEO or local SEO or lead gen, this right here is all you need to grow your agency. You can start off with doing a niche specific directory. That's step number 1. Well, you can do it a city directory if you want. I don't recommend that. You can do that though. You can do a city directory if you wanted to just do a local directory. That's fine. I don't recommend that because your workload is exponential when you work with multiple different industries. When you work with one industry, you learn everything you need to learn about that one freaking industry and what works in SEO and what converts and everything else. And then you just scale the shit out of that across as many locations as you possibly can. You don't have to do any of the other research work. It's all done. You do it one time and you're done. So I recommend a niche specific directory, and I go to great lengths into teaching you guys how to, for example, let me just show you. And you guys actually, I believe I've given you guys access to this in here too. Yes. You guys also have access to this first SOP in the directory series about selecting a niche or industry. This is also, like I said, in the, once you guys sign into the mastermind dashboard area with the local PBNS training module that I gave you access to, you should be able to see this one too, which is basically this SOP converted into training. But this goes through first how to select an industry. And guys, again, talk about thorough. Guys, I drafted all this shit. Like, these are my SOPs. That's why I'm saying this is, I mean, I put a lot of work into these guys. And I just hope you can appreciate that, right? And here's an example of an industry worth targeting, right? Because it's got increasing demand over time. So I go through very, very extensively what to look for and how to determine if an industry is profitable, if it's viable, if it's something that you should enter for, for lead gen or local SEO or whatever. So again, just going back to the SOPs, guys, as I'm showing you, that's the first one. So that you, before you start any work, you've identified and proven that it's an industry that there's people, the companies or businesses in that industry are spending money. There's money there, there's demand, all of that before you get started. And then it's going through the process of building out the machine, right? And I use high level. Some of you want to call it go high level, whatever. We use high level as our kind of marketing automation platform, which does the prospecting and everything else. And to be clear, the first year and a half that I did this process, it was purely an outbound prospecting method. And that's how I recommend that you guys use this. But you build a directory site and you use that as a foot in the door strategy to start a conversation with your ideal prospect. And you do that through outbound marketing to begin with. So cold email, and you can also do voicemail and SMS if you want. I don't do that I did test with that. There is training in here for how to set that up. I turned that off very quickly when I started doing outbound prospecting for my tree service agency or SEO agency, because the tree service guys, when they see a missed call, they don't listen to the audio, which is what voice drops are for. They just call back. And so I was getting all kinds of random inbound calls from doing voice drops and SMS messages and stuff. And so I just went to strictly cold email, and that worked just fine. For the year and a half, guys, all I did was cold email outbound prospecting using the directory, and I started growing my agency from that alone. But then something interesting happened is it ranked, right? My directory ended up ranking with very little SEO work. It ended up ranking. And because of that, for the last year now, I don't have to, right there, number one, guys. Tree Care HQ right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. But tree service directory, I ranked number one, right? Now, when I was in Florida for the SEO at the beach, I was number 2 below the Better Business Bureau directory for tree service contractors in Tampa or Clearwater, Florida, which is where I was. So it was interesting that the Better Business Bureau local directory outranked Tree Care HQ, but only by 1. I was in number 2 position down there. But you guys can go check it yourself. You go check tree service directory. Because of this ranking number 1, or at least in the top 3, whatever, right? I always see it at number 1, except for when I was in Florida. I get tree service contractors every week, at least 2, every single week, that submit their own listings to my directory site. And when they do that, they automatically go into my sales pipeline. And then there's a whole entire process here, guys. So again, to be clear, guys, the first year and a half that I did this, it was an outbound prospecting method that I used to start growing my tree service SEO agency called Tree Care HQ. Then once it ranked, about a year and a half into it, which I can give you guys some strategies on how to get that to rank. I've talked about this in our mastermind recently. But once you can get a directory to rank, now you get inbound leads. And that changes the whole psychology of your agency, right? The whole dynamic of a call. When you get on a call with somebody that has sought you out first, it's a completely different call than it is when you are. So there's a difference between push marketing and pull marketing, right? Outbound prospecting is push marketing, where you're pushing your message out to your intended audience. Pull marketing is where they find you, like you attract them to you. And they raise their hand and say, hey, I want you to contact me. I want more information, right? And that's what the directory does for me, is I get at least two inbound leads consistently every week from treecarehq.com. And when I do, they go into my sales pipeline. And so when we do our outreach, which is part of the process that is part of these SOPs, So you see, talk about lead processing. So these are when leads come in. There's a whole sequence right here on what to do to process these leads. So for example, contact replied, talk about going in the high level, gather company details. I go through a process here that my VA goes through and scrapes as much information about the company that just submitted their listing, or they replied to the cold outreach email. Either one, same thing. We go through the process of optimizing their profile and then publishing that. So we optimize their company page. Then after that, we run an audit. I'm using Bright Local. We do local search grid, and that's what goes out to them once they have submitted their listing or confirmed their information. If I'm doing outbound prospecting, my initial outreach is sending them a cold email saying, hey, this is Bradley, a technician with Tree Care HQ. We're just contacting you to confirm your company information for your free directory or your free listing on the treecarehq.com directory. I'm not approaching them as an SEO, not approaching them as a marketing guy. I'm approaching them as a support tech with Tree Care HQ, just trying to confirm their company information. When they reply back and say, yes, that information is correct, or no, the phone number is, and they give us the appropriate phone number or whatever, that means they've replied. We've got a real live body on the other end of that email. So they automatically go into the sales pipeline, and then my VA takes over, and my VA ends up doing optimizing their profile, scraping all the information they can about the web, everything else. Once that's all done, then they go into the video emails, which is where we send them an email saying like, hey, by the way, thank you for confirming your information or whatever, or submitting your information if it was a user-generated submission. Something that we like to do for the contractors that have confirmed their information is provide them with some additional detail about how your Google business profile is performing or not performing in your local area for the products and services that you provide. Right. And so we go in and show them via video email how their Google business profile is not performing. They're not showing up. So again, coming back over here, I'll just show you what that looks like. Right here, we have a whole kind of process here for creating what I call a universal welcome video. So it's one video that we create that shows them like, hey, this is what a search grid report looks like. This is, you can look at your report that gets sent to them via email. And it's basically my pitch. It's like, so for example, I show them how to create a custom GIF, and then we embed that custom GIF into the email. So when we send them an email to tell them like, hey, your listing is published, it's live, we optimized it for you, they see in the email a GIF image with their company information, like their directory page essentially in the GIF. And so they click on that, and it takes them to a landing page where I explain what they're looking at in the local search grid report, which it's their search grid report that they're looking at, and say like, hey, look, your business is not performing well at all in your local area. Here's some examples of tree service contractors that I've, helped get much more exposure from Google and generate a lot more leads for their business. And here's what I can do for you. And I go in, so it's a video where it shows them how to read the local search grid report that they have in that email. And it also goes into like, here's a kind of some examples of what I've been able to do for tree service contractors and the timeline that I've been able to achieve that. And then at the end, it's the pitch. Hey, just below this video, you can book a call on my calendar. Let's just have a conversation to see if it makes sense for us to work together. Not a hard sales call. It's just a conversation to see if it makes sense for us to work together. That's it. That's my pitch. And the point is when you get people submitting their information here, they already understand the importance of having, being listed online, or else they wouldn't be submitting their information. So they submit their information, then we go out and optimize their profile for them, or my VAs do. And then we send them a follow-up email afterwards. Say like, hey, by the way, thanks for submitting your information. We've optimized your profile for you. Oh, and by the way, your presence in Google sucks. Do you want some help? That's essentially the whole pitch, guys, the whole process. And so again, that's the SOPs for the directory stuff. So, all right, I'm just going to give you guys a couple other real quick examples, and then I'm going to answer questions. We're going to wrap it up. I think I've pretty much beat this dead horse to death. We've got a couple other ones, guys, that I've showed you guys the Google Business Profile SOP, local directory SOPs, which is a whole sequence of them, local PBN building, all the training that's available in here, mastermind archives. Guys, we've been teaching since 2014. So you can imagine we've got years and years of content. Don't let that intimidate you. just start with the most fresh stuff, the most current stuff, and work your way back. At some point, you're going to get to a point where you realize that it's dated. Also, our community, you guys can ask us questions in there all the time. You get a 30-minute onboarding call with me as part of your mastermind membership. I enjoy those calls. I truly do. And also, you know, I always tell my members, if you have something that you want to chat with me about privately beyond our 30-minute onboarding call, reach out to me. I try to be accessible within reason. If you start abusing that privilege that I offer and extend to you guys, if anybody starts to abuse that, then I'll tell you. Like, hey, I'm sorry, this is encroaching upon consulting time. I'm happy to give you some additional time if needed, and just ask any of our members. I do that often, but you know, just be respectful of that is all I'm saying. Okay. So guys, do you have anything you want to add? I don't see any questions coming in, but if I do, you guys see anything that you want to add? If not, here's a link. That's the same as what you guys have here. You guys are still seeing my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Finally got a reply. All right. So guys, that's it right there. There's either one of those links will take you to the same destination. Our mastermind is full transparency. $297 a month. Or $597 for 3 months, which basically means you sign up for 2 months. You pay for 2 and you get 3. So that's it. $597 for 3 months, $297 per month. You guys, like I said, you know, if nothing else, come join the mastermind for 3 months, get the SOPs, ask a shit ton of questions, and then cancel afterwards. You know what I mean? You'll have the SOPs. My goal is with the mastermind is that you come, you get the SOPs, and you ask questions. The staying subscribed and staying a mastermind member gives you support, right? It gives you access to myself as well as my other team members and the rest of the community. So the point is the SOPs are great, and many of you might be able to take that and run with that, and that's all you need. So be it. You still got to join the mastermind and get the SOPs. But the way that I kind of expect things to occur is that people come join the mastermind and get the SOP, and then there's going to have questions about the process as they're going through it or as their subordinates are going through it. And that's what the subscription is for, so that you can ask questions in the group. You get real-time help from me as well as the other members. We have bi-weekly mastermind webinars. So every other Thursday is the SEO webinar. It goes from 3:30 p.m. till 5:30 or 6 p.m. It's supposed to be 2 hours, but I almost always go over. Then every other Thursday, I do what's called the Build with Bradley Zoom meeting. It's 1 hour from 2 p.m. till 3 p.m. Eastern. It is just a Zoom meeting where everybody that attends is encouraged to turn their camera on and turn their mic on. And we have an actual discussion about SEO and running a business, running an agency, outsourcing, like all the stuff. We have a discussion. It's a discussion group. So every two Thursdays is the mastermind webinar, which is the SEO webinar. That's 2 to 2.5 hours. That's me doing training and answering questions and doing over the shoulder training of stuff. And then every other Thursday is an hour-long Zoom discussion meeting, called Build with Bradley. In addition to that, there's a ton of other, perks and things like that that come with being in the mastermind too. So any questions, guys? Gary or Rod, if you're still on, do you guys have anything you want to add?
Yes, for anybody that takes advantage of this, we're going to give 2 bonuses to any buyers that, and this is, listen up real close because this is big. I talked to Patrick this morning. He decided to give 200 TRS coins to anybody that purchased. And we decided to also throw in a quad stack. How many people know what a quad stack is?
1 for yes.
1 for yes. Okay. There's a few yeses. So if you purchase, I'm going to put the link in here for the view form. Fill this form out if you purchase. So copy that form. Don't fill it out if you didn't purchase now. Yes, that's fine, Chris. We got people night and day making them to try and catch up. I mean, it's been a real popular thing.
That's awesome.
I'm 30 behind right now.
You're gonna be more now.
Yeah, I got two guys doing nothing else.
It's awesome. Chris says the Slack group is really good. For BLF. I didn't know you guys had support in Slack. I thought you guys were all in.
No, we're just
Skype.
all in Skype. We don't have
He
Slack.
meant Skype, I'm
Okay.
sure.
I was gonna say, yeah, I had to pull teeth to get you guys to come on to Slack to communicate with me.
You only got half of us.
Yeah, I had to join Skype just to communicate with you guys. So
Yes.
yeah. Okay. I didn't see any questions come through. Did you
I
guys?
haven't seen any yet.
Okay. Well,
Hold on. Oh, somebody asked you a personal message there about the beach.
oh, of course I did, Brian. Brian says, Bradley, how was SEO at the beach? Learn anything? Of course. Yeah, man, I go to those events to learn as much as I do to present for sure. So yeah, I was there taking notes the whole entire time. It was a really good event. David Hood and the crew over there put on a really good event. It was a lot of fun. I think Patrick probably said the same, Gary, right?
Yeah, he did. He was thrilled.
It was a great event. I enjoyed it very much. And that area of Florida is absolutely amazing. I don't know what it would be like in July or August, but in February, it sure is nice. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it would have been a 3-hour drive for me to go.
Where are you, Gary?
Lake City.
Okay. Steve says, Bradley, I was in your group about 4 years ago and thought the training was fantastic. Great to see your evolution and the improvements you've made. Just curious, what type of snapshots did you create for Go High Level for your directory training? Okay, I have the directory snapshot. I also have a the directory snapshot that I use for the whole process, the directory processing process and all that. So there are some other snapshots that I've kind of shared throughout the last couple of years too. But yeah, for the directory snapshot, there is one included in that. In fact, let me just grab the screen again real quick. I'll just show you guys. Let's see, CRM right there. So yeah, so I have the import snapshot here, right there. Okay, I'm not going to click on it because it probably has the snapshot URL. You guys will screenshot it and then go steal it. So trust me, how do I know that? Because we're SEOs, that's why. So anyways, that's the directory CRM. That's the whole setup there on how to import the snapshot and then how to configure everything. I mean, guys, like I said, there is nothing left unturned here. Like, trust me, it took me 2 years to develop this process and 6 months to develop the SOPs for this. And everything is in here. That's why it took me 6 months. And that's like 6 months of 3 hours a day. No kidding.
We'll even find a kitchen sink light in one of the corners in there.
Yeah. It's this is some tough shit. Do you provide training for installing the directory theme? Yeah, remember, that's what I was showing earlier. We'll come back over here. That's going to be this local geo site right here. Oh, installing the directory theme. Yes, sorry. I'm sorry. I was looking at the geo site, but yes, let me just show you that. That's back in the, I'm sorry about that. That's in the geo directory right there. WP Geo Directory is the theme that we use, or it's a plugin and theme, whatever set. WP Geo Directory right there. There is a clone installation that I provide with the pre-configured Geo Directory setup, which is kind of like the basic settings, everything pre-configured the way that I did. So I do provide you with a clone file that you can import. Keep in mind, you have to have your own Geo Directory license. When I first did this, theoretically, people could have used my license from the clone file, but if you ever need support for anything, I flat out told everybody, like, hey, you're going to have to contact WP Geo Directory, which means you're going to have your own license. I am not going to support your directory installation. I'm not going to support it. Full stop. Don't even ask. I'm not going to do it. Okay. It's your WordPress site. It's your problem. And I'm sorry to be rude about that, but I've had so many people that want me to support WP Geo Directory installs on their domains. I'm not going to do that. If you've got a problem with WP Geo Directory, you contact WP Geo Directory and they will help you. And so the reason I bring that up is because I originally, I thought that, and at the time you could import this file and use my license as long as you didn't need support. But now they have since, probably because a bunch of people have used it, they caught on to that. And now it won't even, like, you can install my directory theme template or clone file, excuse me. But then you have to actually like connect the iCode plugin, which is it's right here. It's called the iCode plugin. That's what connects it to your account. You have to connect to your own account or nothing will work properly. So just be very clear about that. You do have to pay for the WP Geo Directory if you want to use it, but I give you full instructions on how to set it. I mean, look at this, guys. This is incredibly detailed as always. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Cecilia, I saw this earlier and I wanted to read this. Thank you, by the way. She said, Cecilia says, I joined recently, zero intention of canceling. The value has been well worth the money. When you surround yourself with people on another level, it's your life hack to leveling up yourself and your business. Thank you very much, Cecilia. I appreciate that. Cecilia is a ninja. She's very helpful. Brian says, is there a reason to use HTML versus WordPress when you're building links for your clients? Like when you use software tools like CTRFI? No, and I'm not sure how that's really relevant to this discussion, but you're welcome to come ask questions like that, Brian, at Hump Day Hangouts. That's our free weekly SEO Q&A webinar that's been 8.5 years strong now. Go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions, and you can post questions ahead of time there, and I can answer questions like that then on Wednesday or the live webinar here. I'll put this on the notepad file. You guys are seeing my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you guys have any questions you want to ask me outside of today, by all means, our Hump Day Hangouts. We've been doing that for over 8 freaking years, 8.5 years. HD questions is how you can post questions ahead of time. And if you want to just join the live webinar, which you can post questions during the live webinar too, it's every single Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, HDHO right there. So you're welcome to come join us anytime and ask us questions there. Okay. That's it, guys. I don't see any other questions coming through, so no sense in spending anybody's time. It's 4:30. It's been 90 minutes. I'm ready to go back to work. How about the rest of you?
Great job, Brad.
It's been a great job. Everybody give a one in the chat for excellent job there.
Well, thank you, guys. Sweet. I appreciate that very much. And like I said, guys, you all are welcome at any time, whether you join the mastermind or not. Come join us at Hump Day Hangouts. I'm happy to answer questions over there. We've got a lot of people that over the years have come to Hump Day Hangouts and built a revenue stream strictly from just what they got from free Hump Day Hangouts. And then once they had revenue coming in, come and join the mastermind. So that's why I said, if you're not in a position yet where the mastermind is within your reach, which we keep it incredibly affordable. By the way, at SEO at the Beach, I was sitting down with some of the other presenters and everybody was kind of throwing out what they charge for their coaching and mastermind programs. And they got to me and everybody just shook their head in shame because I don't charge enough. And everybody told me that, like, man, you're fucking crazy. Like, and I just said, well, I want it to be affordable. I want to bring people in that, you know, I understand kind of charging $5,000 or $10,000. And I get that. You only bring people in that are at certain levels in their business, but I wanted it to be more accessible to more people. Because I remember when I got started, I couldn't afford $5,000 for coaching or $10,000 for coaching. And I had to like literally bootstrap my way up. And so that's why I try to make our training more as affordable as possible, because I want to help as many people as possible. And that is the honest to God's truth. We could charge a lot more, but we don't. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is because I would encourage you guys, if you're not in a position yet to where you can pay for the mastermind, to come join Hump Day Hangouts, ask questions there. I'm happy to answer as much as I can there. And then once you have some revenue, come join the mastermind and get all the SOPs, remove yourself from the equation so that you can be a real business owner instead of self-employed. That's the whole point. So, okay, guys, thank you very much, Gary and Rod, for attending. We'll get the replay over to you guys whenever you want.
Okay, it was been a joy.
I'll be looking for it.
thank you guys for your time today. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.